What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about project cars and why, in my opinion, if you can afford one and you want one, it is the best decision you could make. Now, obviously this is just my opinion, but if you are on the fence about getting your own project car, let's just talk about some things that might tip you over the edge. So without going into too much detail, the last couple of months for me have been pretty intense. Been a lot of stuff happening, a lot of things have been going on, and it's just a lot. There's just a lot to deal with. And sometimes things get, a little overwhelming. I'm sure we've all been there, but if you haven't yet, give it time. It will come. But yeah, there's been a lot of stuff happening. It's been pretty overwhelming, and sometimes it's hard to just get away from that and find something else to do where you're not thinking about that all of the time. So about 8 months ago, I bought myself a 2004 Lancer. I love this car. If you haven't seen the first video on it, I'll leave it up there somewhere. I don't know how to do that, but it's up there somewhere. Go check it out. You might enjoy it. But I bought this car with the sole purpose of making content with it, learning about cars, and having something that I can learn how to do things. And if I make a mistake, it's fine, whatever, there's no big deal. So I've had this car for close to a year, and to be bluntly honest with you, the last couple of months have been made a lot easier by having the Lancer. I know that might not make sense, but it does to me. If you've worked on your own car or somebody else's car or just cars in general, then I think you'd probably agree with me in the sense that when you're doing something on the car, it feels like nothing else really matters until you finish that task. Do you know what I mean? When you're doing something, whether it's changing the brakes or rotating the tires or whatever, for that brief moment in time, that's all you're doing. That's it. You're just focusing on that task, which I struggle with, to be honest with you. Normally when I'm doing things like editing or filming or whatever the reason, I'm constantly thinking about other things. But for me, when I'm working on the car, my brain is too slow to do that and think on other things. So it's good. But I think having something as a bit of an escape that you can do without overly thinking about everything else is important. Whether that's working on cars or video games or reading books or drawing or whatever the case, I think having some sort of escape where you can focus solely on that task is very important. And since I've owned the Lancer, it's really started to scratch an itch in my brain that I didn't know I had. I have no idea if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Standing in my garage now, I realize how dirty it is. I have to clean and I really don't want to. Okay, we have to get stuff to service this car. Let's go on an adventure. Now, I understand that not everybody can afford a project car. I totally get that. I'm kind of the same at the moment, whereas I don't have an abundance of money to spend on the car. As much as I would love to go out and get some new wheels or some new parts or whatever the case, it always comes down to money. So it's always this cycle of trying to save as much money as I can to buy parts that I need to prioritize to either keep the car on the road or get it running or doing anything that comes with owning a project car. I understand that there is a financial constraint. I get that, but I think at the end of the day, you don't need to spend a fortune to have a project car or to have something to enjoy and have some fun with. I spent about $2,000 on this car, and that was to buy it, to get it on the road, and to get it ready to drive. I mean, obviously, if you want to have a car to drive on the road, you need to spend a little bit more to make sure it's in a drivable condition. But if you want something to just sit in the backyard or sit in the garage or whatever and take parts off it, learn how cars work, learn what things do, then you could easily get one from the wreckers that might have a bit of front end damage or have a bit of rear end damage or whatever the situation. Just get something to start. You don't have to spend a fortune to get something and start learning about cars and things that come with cars. But I guess today's video is not really about purchasing a wrecked car from the wreckers to take up a space in your garage. It's about project cars, something you can learn and work on and drive and that sort of stuff. But like I said, you don't need to be spending a fortune to have a project car. I mean, I could definitely spend 15 grand and go get an 86 or do something along those lines, which I'd love to in the future. But for me, like I said, I spent $2,000 and I have a fully drivable car that I can rip around and have some fun. And if something happens to it, or if I do some work that doesn't work properly, or if I do something wrong or whatever the case, then it's not like I've gone out and spent $15,000 on something that I'm gonna destroy. Do you know what I mean? I can learn and I don't feel like I'm under pressure of not making mistakes because it's going to cost me too much to fix them if I have to. Does that make sense? The whole point of what I'm trying to say is you don't have to have the nicest looking project car or the best looking project car or whatever to just get started. There is nothing wrong with that. I've had this car for almost a year. The whole right-hand side of it has been painted with spray cans and filled with body filler. It needs new wheels. The whole paint that is remaining that we haven't replaced has got chips and scratches in it. The hood's been keyed. There's a dent in the back. The spoiler that we've put on it is a totally different color to the rest of the car. I know that that's not ideal, and I know that some people probably wouldn't really want to have that and drive around in it. I get that too. Regardless of how good the car looks or regardless of anything along those lines, I like it, and that's the point. I enjoy it. I know that there's people that probably see my car and go, oh, what in the hell is that? Who would do that? But for me, I look at it and go, look at all the videos we've made. Look at how much I've learned. I love Mitsubishis and I love Lancers. And I get to look at this every day and go, I have so many cool plans for this. Obviously there's gonna take time and effort and money and whatever, but there's things that I wanna do to this car. And I'm genuinely so excited to learn how to do things. And honestly, I'm excited to make some mistakes. You obviously don't want to make mistakes that are going to cost you or make a big issue for you to have to try and fix in the future. But I'm kind of looking forward to making some errors and making some mistakes, because then I have to learn how to fix them. And then instead of learning one thing, I'm learning two things. That's probably a very optimistic way to look at this situation, but at the end of the day, I want to learn how to do things with cars, and you don't learn if you don't make mistakes. So keep that in your brain. But I mean, I've always owned cars and I've always done small maintenance work and things like that on my cars, but every time it had to have like a crazy major service, I'd take it straight into the shop and the shop would handle it and they would deal with it, and I wouldn't really ever do too much because I was scared of making mistakes and making a problem that was going to be way too costly to try and fix. My God, potholes everywhere. But then when I bought this car, like I said, it's bought with the sole purpose of, if I make a mistake, so what? Is what it is, we'll fix it, and if we can't, then we learn from it, I guess. I went into this with full preparation of losing money if I had to. Obviously that's not the goal, but I think any project car owner or anyone who has a car that's not the most reliable or the newest thing in the world, you understand that older cars can sometimes be a literal money pit. I'm very fortunate with the Lancer as I haven't really had too many mechanical things that I've had to fix. Obviously the bodywork is definitely not good because it wasn't when we bought it, and I've definitely not made it any better by filling it with body filler and trying to paint it with rattle cans, but it's been an experience that I can't change for anything, to be honest with you. I couldn't pay somebody $2,000 to go into their shop and spray somebody's car. I couldn't do that. I can't pay somebody that money to put body filler in a random person's car and then try and paint it with rattle cans. Whereas I bought this for $2,000 and I could do whatever I want to it, and there's no restriction. The only restriction is the money that I have and the mental capacity that I have to possibly put something together. All right, I've got to jump inside and get a filter and some other stuff. I have no idea yet. 9 times out of 10, when I'm going into Super Cheap Auto, I leave with things I don't need. So let's go. Oh, goodness gracious, it's cold. I genuinely think that is one of the first times I've ever gone into Super Cheap Auto and not spent money that I didn't need to spend. Today's gonna be a good day. I'll take that. So we got everything we need. We have an air filter. We have some brand new spark plugs because she is desperate, and an oil filter because I've been meaning to give this car a service for longer than she deserves to wait, to be honest. So she'll get one this week. Hopefully. One thing I did notice walking back to the car is it is dirty. It's filthy. You're just sitting outside in the rain. I'm so sorry. We should give her a clean. We should go to the car wash. Let's go to the car wash. It's not expensive. It's around the corner. Let's go give the car a clean because she deserves it. She deserves it. I feel like I've wronged her a little bit. Just sitting outside in the rain, not had any love or affection or care. My goodness gracious, I'm so sorry. This is what happens, you know? You feel neglected and you just get left outside in the rain. So let's do our best to try and remedy that slightly. I genuinely feel bad by how dirty the car is. I'm normally a lot more on top of this, but yeah, I don't know. I feel bad now. I feel terrible. Let's go to the car wash, give her a clean. I feel really good knowing that she's gonna get a good clean, she's gonna get a really good service, she's got some new tires coming at the end of the week, which is really freaking exciting, so keep an eye out for that video. But I'm excited to be doing stuff to the car. Like there's this big period where you're saving, and then you can finally actually spend that money to buy parts or to do the things that you want to do with the car. It's having all of the waiting and then to finally get the payoff that just makes it feel so much more worth it. It's not like you have everything right now, and I mean, if you've got a bunch of money hanging around that you can just spend on your car whenever you want, first, give me some. Second, do it. If you have the money to spend, do it. Because it feels amazing to finally feel like you're accomplishing things with your car. I feel anyway, for me. Like I said, this is all a personal thing. How I feel and how you feel are probably very, very different feelings, but if you enjoy your car and the time that you spend with your car, then you won't be disappointed, hopefully. Oh, look at that, straight into a fresh bay. Let's go. My goodness. When you drive up into the car wash and you get an empty bay straight away, you know it's gonna be a good day. It's just gonna be a good day. Let's give her a clean. Oh my freaking goodness. I was cold when I left the house. I don't know why I wore shorts when I left the house. That was probably an oversight on my part, but then to go stand at a car wash and do the same thing is freezing cold. I don't know why I did that, stupid. But the car's clean and that feels good, so. All right, let's go home. Let's get out of this cold air and car wash. Hopefully she'll dry off a bit when she's on the road. I need to do a bunch of work on the car this week, so there's a very real chance this is gonna get filthy. So I'm gonna have to do another clean at the end of the week, but I couldn't sit there and let her be that filthy. Do you know what I mean? Covered in dirt, I felt terrible. So at least now my conscience feels better. That's literally it. I know this probably sounds really dumb, but we've gone to the shops and got parts for the car for the service. I've gone to the car wash and just sprayed it with some water, and I feel so much better than I did this morning. I was just having one of those mornings, but getting in the car, coming to the shops, giving it a little bit of a clean, just makes me feel better. I'm probably not alone in this. There's probably a lot of people that feel very similar to the way I feel right now, but even doing something so mundane in this car just makes me feel better. It makes me happy. Even though it's something so mundane is going to just wash the car, I feel better. I feel like I've had some time to relax, and I feel like I've had, I don't know, like some time to myself, like a little bit of a thing for just me. And like I said, I understand that it's just a car wash, it's nothing crazy, and we've just gone to get some filters, nothing insane, but I don't know, there's something about just spending time with the car and just being by yourself with the car and like doing things. It just makes me feel accomplished almost. It makes me feel like I've achieved something today, or I've done something today for me, and just for me alone. Does that make sense? But I think that just honestly comes down to what I was saying before. You don't have to have the most expensive car. It doesn't have to be the coolest looking project car in the world, but as long as you like it and as long as you enjoy it, then that's literally all that matters. It doesn't have to be something that everybody would pick. I guarantee you there's people that look at this Lancer and go, why would you bother? Or why would you waste your time and money on something like this? And I know that there's people out there, and that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. I love Lancers, and I'm sure you probably know that by now after watching all of the videos of me talking about bloody Mitsubishis and Lancers and my car and whatever the case. But I love Lancers. I never really liked this model that I own, which is a CH. I never really liked it. It was not really a car that I liked the look of. I like other Lancer models, but just this one just didn't really do it for me. So I bought one. I don't know if that was the best decision, but I bought one with the hopes that I could make some things different, I could change things on it and enjoy the process. And hopefully I would start to like this CH model more and more, and I can definitely say I absolutely do. I love this model of Lancer. Again, I don't know why. It's only a 2-liter 4-cylinder, 5-speed manual, nothing crazy. And the front end of this car I never really liked. It's very like Magna-ish. But the more time you spend with the car and the more of a vision you have of doing things to the car, I genuinely love this car. I went from not being a huge fan of this style of the body and this model to now loving it. I love it. And I think the reason I do is because there's not a lot of people with this model doing things to it. A lot of them are like the CE Lancers or the newer CJ Lancers to make them look like Evo 10s, or they make the CE Lancers look like an older Evo. But the CH, I'm digging it. I'm really liking it. And I don't think I ever would have had as much appreciation for this model of Lancer if I didn't buy one and started working on one, to be bluntly honest with you. So for a $2,000 investment, I don't think I've done too bad at all with all the knowledge that I've been able to pick up whilst owning and working on this car. It's a win. It's a win for me. And like I said at the start of the video, since owning this project car and having a car specifically dedicated to working on, it's scratched this part of my brain that I don't think had really been active or doing things for quite a while. So when you have a project car and you're trying to do things, you have to, there's often a lot of puzzle solving and like a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. And especially in somebody like my position where you have little to no experience, you either have to do a hell of a lot of research online or you wing it and hope for the best. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out very well, but you gave it a crack. And then you have to fix that again. Like I said, you're learning 2 things instead of 1. But it gives your brain the opportunity to do things and puzzle solve and come up with a resolution that you may not have had the opportunity to do if you weren't working on the car. I hope what I'm trying to say is conveyed well in this video, because I feel like at this point, I'm just rambling and talking utter rubbish. It makes sense in my head. All right, there is bloody potholes everywhere. I'm gonna pay attention. I'll meet you back at home. God damn, it's so windy. My goodness gracious, it's windy. Far out. It's like a bloody wind tunnel in here. I'm gonna close the door, 1 sec. There we go. It's a million times better. Anyone would think we're bloody testing Formula One aerodynamics in this garage. It was that bloody windy. Anyway, to conclude this whole conversation of is a project car worth it? In my opinion, yes. If you don't have one yet, look into it. Obviously, there's a constraint on money. It depends on how much you have. It depends on how much time you have. Time is the other thing that we haven't even touched on yet. You have to have time to do it, which a lot of us struggle with. You get a car, it sits outside for ages or in the garage or whatever, and you can't find time to work on it. But that's a whole different situation. If you have enough money, you have enough time, and you like the idea of working on a car and learning more about a car, then absolutely. After now owning the Lancer and working on the car and making these videos and doing all that sort of stuff, I don't think I could go back to not having a project car. Does that make sense? The thought of going out and buying a car and owning a car and then sending it to the mechanic to do all the small minor servicing and like all the small little things that I could very easily do myself, but I was always too afraid to do. I don't think I could go back to that. I enjoy the little maintenance things that I have to do on the car. I enjoy doing that myself. I enjoy having that time alone and having that time to work on the car where it's just me by myself, working on the car, learning new things and making a bunch of mistakes. So like I said at the start of the video, if you are on the fence about getting a project car, get one. Worry about it later. Future you can worry about the cost and everything else that goes involved. Just buy a car. Just buy a car to work on and have some fun with. You won't regret it. If you like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also subscribe. I post new videos every week and you don't want to miss them. If you want to come and join us on any of our other social media or just be part of the streams, I leave all the information in the description. Come say what's up. Let me know you found this video. I'd love to meet you. If you guys have any questions or suggestions on what to do to the Lancer, leave me a comment below. Other than that, I'm gonna leave you guys to it. Bye.